To the outside world, Kamikaze Chris was a fearless driver, a force to be reckoned with on the streets. His will to win seemed unstoppable. But street racing isn't just about speed, it's a high-stakes game where even the best can't outrun fate forever. Just when it seemed like Chris had solidified his legacy, disaster struck, turning his world upside down in an instant. So what really happened, and where does he go from here? This is the heartbreaking story of Kamikaze Chris and the tragedy that changed everything. Chris, the man behind that menacing flat black El Camino on Street Outlaws, isn't the kind of guy most would peg as a street racing powerhouse. By all accounts, he wasn't supposed to make it, but time and time again, he shattered expectations. And here's the thing, it was never part of some grand plan. Life just took him down this road, and he ran with it. Because for Chris, being the underdog is all he has ever known. Growing up in a working-class home in a tough part of Oklahoma City, Chris didn't have much. In his own words, his family wasn't just struggling, they were flat-out broke. Not the tight-on-money kind of broke, but the kind where hand-me-down clothes weren't just second-hand, they were worn thin, stained, and already past their prime. If he wanted anything beyond the basics, that was on him to figure out. And for Chris, there was only one thing worth chasing, racing. But not cars, at least not at first. Chris started with dirt bikes. And if you ask him why, he'll tell you he's not necessarily a car guy, he's a racing guy. If it's got wheels, he'll race it. A dirt bike, a shopping cart, probably even a lawnmower if you put one in front of him. By the time he was 3, he was already on a motorcycle, and he never looked back. While most kids his age were playing in the park, he was working every odd job he could find just to keep his bike running. Twice a week, he lined up at the starting gate, racing against riders nearly twice his age. But that didn't faze him. He had a hunger to win, a love for speed, and a work ethic that set him apart. That work ethic? He got it from his dad, a successful drag boat racer with one simple rule: you break it, you fix it. Chris took that to heart. He mowed lawns, chopped trees, pumped gas, anything to scrape together the cash for his next ride. From a BMX bike to his first dirt bike, every upgrade was earned. And once he got a taste of real competition, there was no stopping him. Right around that time, he wasn't just racing, he was helping others get faster, too. Especially when it came to their cars. Back in high school, when Kamikaze first crossed paths with Justin Big Chief Shearer, it was like two puzzle pieces snapping into place. Both were fiercely competitive. Both lived and breathed cars. And neither one ever backed down from a challenge. In fact, it was Kamikaze who first gave Big Chief that now iconic nickname. But their bond wasn't just built on speed, it was forged in the late-night grind of the garage. Kamikaze wasn't just the guy talking fast and driving faster, he was the one out in the driveway, night after night, wrenching on Big Chief's 1972 Pontiac Lemons, better known as the Crow. And to them, it wasn't just a car. It was the foundation of their friendship, the machine they built with their own hands, one late-night fix at a time. That hands-on experience set Kamikaze on his own path. First, he picked up a Chevy Love with a small block. Then came a Blazer, also a small block. And eventually, an A-body Chevelle. That Chevelle, though, was something else, a 71 covered in a loud emerald green paint job that looked like it belonged on a base boat. It wasn't pretty, but it had attitude. And it was fast. Running nines, tearing up the streets, a real rowdy piece of machinery. But cars come and go, and the game never stops. Kamikaze stayed tight with a core group of OKC racers who weren't just out there to cruise, they were out to dominate. Plenty of guys showed up just to be part of the scene, to hang out and show off their rides. But for Kamikaze, Big Chief, Dave Comstock, and the rest of their crew, racing wasn't just something to do, it was serious. That dedication showed in the way Kamikaze drove. If he had to muscle the car down the road to win, that's exactly what he did. He wasn't reckless, he was calculated. But he pushed harder than most, always riding that fine line between control and chaos. That's where the nickname Kamikaze came from. He had a way of making even the wildest situations look effortless. To him, driving was pure instinct. While some people needed a drink to unwind or distractions to escape, Kamikaze found his peace at full throttle, inches from disaster. That's where he thrived. The rush. The edge. The pure adrenaline of knowing he was pushing both himself and his car to the absolute limit. That was what made him feel alive. And it wasn't long before that attitude got him noticed. When he joined Big Chief on Street Outlaws in its third season, he brought that raw, no-holds-barred energy to the screen. The show helped take drag racing mainstream, and Kamikaze Chris became one of the most talked-about racers in the country. And with that, he became the proud owner of what might just be the most famous El Camino in the game. Before Chris got his hands on the El Camino, the car belonged to his childhood friend Tyler Flip Pretty. Everybody called it the Elko because it was a Frankenstein build, pieced together with all the leftover parts from their friends' cars whenever they upgraded. But that didn't stop it from making a name for itself. When Flip rolled up in the first season of Street Outlaws, that car had everybody talking. It was loud, obnoxious, and straight up ridiculous. Those zoomy headers shot nitrous fireballs right out of the fenders. And the rumors about how it was held together only added to the legend. People swore it was patched up with silicone, JB Weld, duct tape, and enough Bondo to fill a swimming pool. And when Flip pulled up to collect his winnings, that made the loss sting just a little bit more. The Elko might have been a mess, but it was fast. When Flip passed away, his longtime friend Justin Big Chief Shearer knew there was only one person who should have the car, Chris. No second guessing. No hesitation. The car had been sitting under a tarp for over a year, gathering dust, waiting for the right hands to bring it back to life. And when Chris finally turned the key, the engine didn't just start, it roared as if it had been waiting for him all along. But a car like that wasn't just going to come out of retirement quietly. On its first real drive, one of the rear brakes locked up and caught fire. And that was just the start. Before long, Chris had broken it so badly that it needed a full rebuild. That's when he struck a deal to drop in a friend's already built 582 engine. He wasn't happy about it. Chris had always built his own engines. Taking someone else's work felt wrong. Turns out, his instincts were right. That 582 turned into a nightmare, 13 rebuilds in a single season. It was like running a funny car team. Race. Rebuild. Blow it up. Rebuild. Over and over. It was enough to break anyone. But when you're chasing speed, that's just part of the game. Chris had had enough of the headaches. It was time to move forward. So he made the call. Digging into his savings, he teamed up with Graham Jones at Fast Times Motorworks to build something serious, an all-aluminum 632 with 4 stages of nitrous. On top of that, he and his buddy Les tackled a back-half chassis conversion right in the garage. The goal? Simple, get back on OKC's top 10 list. By the summer of 2017, he was back in the mix, winning races and making his presence known. But deep down, something still wasn't right. The car wasn't running the way he really wanted. And settling? That was never an option. 10 Z5 Hours slicks gripping the track as best they could, but every pass was still an adventure. And that was part of the fun. As long as he wasn't on fire, Chris was good. To Chris, racing isn't just a weekend escape, it's a way of life. Every bolt, every dent, every late night in the garage tells a story of sacrifice. That car isn't just a machine, it's built from busted knuckles, sleepless nights, and every spare dollar he could find, sometimes even the ones he couldn't. By day, he runs a small heating and air conditioning business. By night, long after the world has gone to sleep, he's in the garage, cleaning the Lexan windows, checking spark plugs, dialing in the tires, and double-checking the brakes. He doesn't have the luxury of throwing money at problems, so he makes sure nothing is left to chance. Guys like him, working class, self-funded, running a car built in a home garage, aren't supposed to go wheel-to-wheel with the big names. And yet, he does. More than once, the cost of racing has pushed him to the edge. He's been dead broke while competing in this very show. But that underdog label? That's not a gimmick. That's just reality. He'll tell you himself, he's stubborn, he's proud, and that's exactly what it takes to build, race, and win with an El Camino. Of course, he doesn't do it alone. Behind every great racer is a team, and support from companies like Haltech, Speedmaster, and Wolf Aircraft Products helps keep him in the fight. But at its core, this car is proof of what passion, pride, and relentless determination can achieve when money alone isn't enough. And if you think this kind of racing is out of reach, Chris would tell you otherwise. Anyone willing to sacrifice their time, money, and heart could build a car like his. But here's the difference: most people hesitate before diving into something this intense. Chris never did. For him, it's all or nothing. Always has been. He spent years trying to resist that part of himself, but now he's embraced it. There's no halfway. He'll either make it big or crash and burn trying. And if you know anything about racing, you know that's exactly the mindset it takes to win. But little did he know that the same car that brought him so much success was about to lead him straight into disaster. You see, street racing has never been the safest or easiest pursuit. But for those who live for speed, it remains one of the most exhilarating. Fans of Street Outlaws and its spin-offs understand the rush, the raw power of high-performance machines, the tension at the starting line, and the split-second decisions that can mean the difference between victory and disaster. Crashes are an unavoidable part of the sport. No matter how often they happen, it's always shocking how quickly a finely tuned race car can go from peak performance to a twisted wreck. Few know this better than Chris Kamikaze and his legendary 1981 Chevy El Camino. Back in July 2020, while filming Street Outlaws, Kamikaze Chris found out the hard way just how unforgiving street racing can be. It wasn't just a minor scrape or a dented bumper, his El Camino was done. The body, chassis, engine, turbochargers, nearly everything was a total loss. Only a handful of parts, like the parachute lever, shifter, and rear housing, were salvageable. Chris later shared the story on his YouTube channel, Kamikaze Life. That day, the Elco was already acting up. Its driveshaft sensor was giving him trouble. He wasn't feeling great about racing, but when another driver threw out a challenge, he just couldn't say no. One race later, and his beloved El Camino was nothing but twisted metal. Losing that car wasn't just about money or the countless hours he'd spent building it. That Elco was his car, the one he loved the most, the one he had history with. Seeing it destroyed was an emotional gut punch, the end of an era. But if there's one thing about Kamikaze Chris, it's that he doesn't back down. This crash wasn't the end of his racing career, it was just another test. And like any real racer, he was ready to face it head-on. For his big comeback, he decided to do something wild, putting up a set of wrecked parts from the El Camino on eBay. Not just any parts, either. These were the Weld racing wheel, Mickey Thompson tire, and TBM brake rotor that got ripped off the passenger side when the car flew off the road right in front of Discovery Channel's cameras. And to make it even better, he signed them. The auction exploded in popularity. With 8 days remaining, the bid count soared past 100, reaching an astonishing $10,600. But then, Chris raised the stakes. If the auction hit $25,000, he vowed to personally cook and serve the winner a steak dinner live on Facebook while wearing his race suit. The bold move electrified fans, and they eagerly embraced the challenge. Normally, wrecked car parts wouldn't be worth much. But these weren't just any old scraps. They were pieces of racing history, and for Street Outlaws fans, that meant something. Chris had over 100 orders in just a week, and that cash went straight into his next build, a C5 Corvette built for speed. This new car carried a familiar presence, the aggressive stance, the deep gloss of its black paint. It was as if the El Camino had been reborn. And in many ways, it had. From the wreckage, Chris salvaged the transmission, engine, and drivetrain, meticulously rebuilding each component before transplanting them into the Corvette. The Elko may have been lost to the flames, but thanks to Chris, its spirit never truly died. Kamikaze Chris also took his TV fame and ran with it, launching Kamikaze Motorsports, an online store packed with merch and die-cast models of his iconic El Camino. And if that wasn't enough, he's also got his YouTube channel, Kamikaze Life, where he takes fans along for wild road adventures and glimpses into his everyday life. It's been growing fast, racking up over 70,000 subscribers since kicking off in 2020. But even with all these side ventures, racing is still at the heart of everything he does. That's why fans were caught off guard when he seemed to vanish from Street Outlaws. No big explanation, no farewell, just gone. Naturally, rumors started flying. Had he been fired? Did he quit? Was he done with racing? Chris finally broke his silence on Facebook in July 2023, letting fans know he wouldn't be in the 6th season of No Prep Kings. However, he stopped short of explaining his absence, leaving fans with more questions than answers. Rather than settling the speculation, his silence only intensified it, sparking even more theories about his departure. But despite all the speculation, one thing remains certain: Kamikaze Chris has never stepped away from the racing world. He continues to dominate the streets of Oklahoma and compete in no-prep events across the country. These days, his focus is on his C5 Corvette, a machine that proves he has no intention of slowing down. Through every twist and turn, Kamikaze Chris remains a formidable force, pushing forward with unwavering determination. Fans have witnessed his highs and lows, yet one thing remains constant: his refusal to back down from a challenge. Whether on screen or off, his journey is far from over, with plenty of roads still ahead.